I can't believe I'm saying this, but Irrational Games are shutting their doors. Yes, Irrational Games, the Boston-based 2K-owned developer, most notably known for making Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite and stuff like that, are closing their doors, they announced today on their website. In a release prepared by studio head and famous game developer Ken Levine, announced that he is winding down and shutting down Irrational Games, the studio he started some 15 years ago. Levine also explained that he is taking a small team from Irrational to make new games, smaller narrative-based games, but still working for 2K. And this is absolutely crazy. What? There's a lot of different ways to look at this. The big thing, the whole big question is Ken Levine, like, what is his thought process? He's shutting down a studio that people worked for, a studio that, you know, people's livelihoods were dependent upon. Thankfully, in this release, he included that all the developers and people who work for him are getting financial help, and they are getting consulted, and they may get new jobs in 2K. They have plenty of time to build their portfolio, stuff like that. It made it seem like they're treating them good, which is good. But still, he's closing down his studio that he worked on and he founded with 3 other people many, many years ago to pursue new, seemingly more indie game type projects. Now, I think one of the biggest factors here is the development cycle of Bioshock Infinite. My friend Larry Frum put it best. He said, did Ken Levine raised the bar too high for himself? And I think he did. The Bioshock Infinite development cycle was very long. It was a tumultuous development. You know, there were a ton of delays. There were a lot of problems with the budget being too high. Lots of leadership changes and high-profile people leaving the studio for another. It just was a big, messy game development cycle. And at the end of the day, it did go on to sell 4 million units, but that may not be good enough for 2K considering the budget of the game. It was a huge budget game. So now that whole big chaos, that whole chaotic development, now I'm looking at as, did that tire out Ken Levine? Is he just not into it anymore? Did that just change his whole thought process on the thing, on AAA game title development? He probably got his ass beat making this game, and then he looked at something like Brothers or Journey or other indie type games that do really well, that people really, really like, that there is a market for now. And maybe he wants to do that. Maybe that's a passion of his. And it kind of seems like that's what he's doing. He said, and I quote, narrative-driven, replayable story games. So that's cool. My first initial reaction to this whole thing was like, holy shit. Bioshock did not make a lot of money and in turn ran the studio into the ground. But that doesn't seem totally like the case. It could have been a factor. 2K could have been putting pressure on him because of that. But time will tell. This only was announced today. We don't know the full details as of yet. But right now, it doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world. Especially considering the people who worked for Irrational will still be able to get help and hopefully find better jobs and land on their feet, God willing. But I think that's definitely worth taking a step back and thinking about. Irrational Games, the studio that brought us Bioshock. That's a big deal. That is something to be thankful for, and I think we all owe them a great deal. And especially now that they are no more, I think we really need to remember them, because it's a damn shame. But I really hope the big shop developer Ken Levine does go on to do some really cool things. You know, I see a trend going, like especially like with Cliff Bleszinski from Gears of War and Epic. Now he's doing his own thing. Ken Levine's doing his own thing. Tim Schafer's doing his own thing. Like, all these guys are going out and going back down to the roots, the creativity, the kind of indie mentality. And I think that's very interesting, and I think we might see a lot more of that. That's going to be a growing trend. But like I said, guys, we don't know the full story yet. We just know what Irrational and 2K are telling us. So as always, let us know what you think about this in the comments. Let's talk about it. What is your favorite Irrational Games game? What do you think this studio closure means for creative titles from Ken Levine? And what is going to happen to the PlayStation Vita version of Bioshock? What are we going to do? Also this week I have coming, I pushed this video first, but I do have Titanfall gameplay impressions coming out and some gameplay videos of some matches that I actually did pretty well in, so check back for that. But as always, guys, that's it for me. I'm Jake Baldino. You can like me on Facebook, you can yell at me on Twitter, and you can subscribe because video games.